E-commerce logistics company Delhivery has grown from a 5-member team to a 12,000 people company in less than 5 years. The company runs 1.2 million square feet of warehousing and 14 fully automated sortation centers in the country. It works with more than 1,500 online retailers including Flipkart, Snapdeal, Paytm and Myntra. Delhivery plans to expand its presence to 4 international markets in the next 6 months. The company recently snapped 85 million in Series D round of funding led by Tiger Global. It plans to employ 110,000 people by the end of 2020. So hi Sahil, welcome to VCCircle.
Hi, thanks.
So when did you start Delhivery and what was the idea behind it?
So we started Delhivery in 2011. The idea initially was to do local delivery. And so we used to do 30-minute on-demand delivery for local retailers in Gurgaon. And from there we've morphed into doing delivery and the entire supply chain piece for online retail, and now we're a full-service e-commerce enablement company. I think in 2011 we looked at smartphone penetration, and our view was that people would want to buy various kinds of products, food, flowers, sports goods, whatever, from retailers who were around them. And the idea was to bring it to them in 30 minutes at that stage. That was the only inspiration. We use a massive infrastructure footprint across the country. We have about 800 stations across 320 cities, all of which are about 2 to 3 kilometers away from a customer's residence, and we have a fleet of 8,000 people who actually pick up and deliver from local as well as national retailers.
So how important is the technology part in building this infrastructure?
Technology is the core of what we do. It is the single biggest differentiator of the company, all the way from the order management systems to the routing systems to the warehousing, to locating inventory. All of this is guided by our in-house technology. So it's the backbone of everything that we do.
So what differentiates you from other players in the market?
I think the breadth of what we do. In no part of our business do we have we don't have an overall competitor in some ways, because we go all the way from order management to transportation to payments. So we do order management, warehousing, transportation, payments, reverse logistics, after sales. So obviously one of the big differentiators is the sheer breadth of everything that we do. The other big differentiator is the quality of our infrastructure. We run 1.2 million square feet of warehousing, now I think 14 sortation centers which are fully automated. Our technology obviously is a massive differentiator. So I think the spread of what we do and the manner in which we do it, both of which are big differentiators.
So when you started, what were the initial challenges you faced?
I think the biggest challenge we faced initially was convincing people that a third-party player could be created in this space, and that there was a space for an e-commerce enablement business. Everybody assumed that the large channels would become e-commerce enablement businesses on their own. But I think what we've proven is that there is space for somebody like us to exist. There have been smaller challenges along the way, obviously, in terms of hiring the sort of field force that we've created in 4 years, training them, building the technology. But I think the biggest challenge was proving that there is a third-party viable model here.
So can you tell me something about the background of the co-founders?
Sure. We're a team of 5. 3 of us used to work together. So Suraj, Mohit and I used to work together at Bain Company. We spent 3 years together consulting for a variety of clients, private equity, healthcare, telecom at Bain. Quit together in 2011 to start Delhivery. Mohit and Suraj are from IIT Bombay, IIT Kanpur, then spent 5 years at Bain. I went to business school and then started at Bain. Bhavesh was our 4th co-founder to join, worked at Reliance and Idea. He was a common friend. So we sort of managed to excite him and bring him on. And we knew Kapil, again, our 5th co-founder and our CTO, through common friends. So Kapil's from IIT Delhi, then spent 10 years at Sapient, started 2 companies in between, and then joined us. We started Delhivery officially on Holi, which I think was April 3rd or something like that in 2011. And we bootstrapped all the way till April 2012. So we bootstrapped for a year.
How much funds did you have?
Founders, and we had an angel investor, Abhishek Goyal, from Traction. We had 60 lakhs across the 6 of us, which we put into the business. That sort of kept us going for 12 months and some. The initial challenges for us, one of the biggest challenges was convincing people to join us. We were really, till the 8th month, we were 5 founders, 1 tech guy, one person in the call center and about 30 field riders. Very hard to convince somebody to come and work for a company like that. And obviously convincing people that what we were doing was going to become large. Like I said, the biggest challenge was proving the viability of the model. Those were our biggest challenges.
So what differentiates you from the regular traditional courier thing?
Two things. One is the manner in which we've used infrastructure and the quality of our infrastructure. We were the first company in India to really go out and invest heavily in automation, for instance. Today, where most of our competitors have one sortation center or 3 sortation centers, we have 14 across the country. The idea of coupling fulfillment with transportation or warehousing with transportation was also something that we started very early. I think these early steps really differentiated us. That said, I think our lasting differentiation is in A, the technology, and B, the training of the field manpower. The manner in which we route parcels, the manner in which we deliver them. We get it right a lot of the times, we get it wrong sometimes, and horribly so. And when we get it wrong, the important thing is that the system learns very quickly and tries not to make the same mistake again. So I think the fact that we're a learning organization is a big difference.
How many people do you currently employ?
Across all cities, today we employ about 12,000 people or so. I don't know the exact count, to be honest. We're somewhere between 12 and 12,500. In 2011, when we built our first business plan to meet with a couple of VCs, I still remember actually we met Alok Mittal from Ken & Partners. At that stage, our first business plan said that we would have, if I remember, about 500 people. And we said this is the maximum that this company can grow to. Even at that time, I think the discussion was that's too many people. But yeah, our second business plan when we met Suvir, who finally invested in us, I think that said that we'll get to 30,000 shipments and we'll have some 600 guys or maybe 1,000 guys or something like that. So we didn't expect to get to this stage, but hey, you know what? E-commerce has grown. Congratulations obviously to Flipkart and Snapdeal and Amazon and ShopClues and eBay. They really built this market. And we've sort of been the beneficiaries and grown along with them.
So how many people do you wish to employ by the end of this year?
By the end of this year, we should have close to about 19,000 people across all of our businesses, the end of this financial year. And by 2020, our ambition is to employ over 110,000 people.
So in this process, you will also become the largest employer, one of the largest employer in the country.
Well, sure, we'd like to be. I think we're already among the top 100 employers in the country.
Yeah. How many PIN codes do you currently deliver in the country?
3,700 on our own network today.
And how many PIN codes do you wish to reach to?
We'll be in 6,500 PIN codes by March. Hopefully we will have nearly full coverage of the country by the end of next year, which is about 22,000 PIN codes.
Okay. And how have you been utilizing the recent funding you've raised from Tiger?
Couple of places. One is to expand our footprint, our infrastructure and our reach. B is to continue to boost all our investments in the technology side. We've also made a couple of strategic investments as a company in younger companies who we feel are bringing real change in the e-commerce ecosystem. That's going to be a big use of funds. We will also continue to invest in seller services. So one of the things that we are doing is we believe it's part of our mandate is to focus on the supply side of this market. While all of India's e-commerce companies are doing a phenomenal job of creating demand, what we're trying to do is to make sure that the supply side is able to deal with all of the demand that gets created. So we will invest heavily in supply side services.
Like you previously mentioned that you will be investing in some startups.
I can't actually disclose names, but obviously there's one which is we've invested in Bangalore, which is in the on-demand pickup and delivery space. We're investing in a company in Bombay, which employs essentially the hearing impaired, the deaf, and that's a company that we're backing. We are looking at a company in the locker space. We're looking at a company in the on-demand delivery space. We're looking at companies in the technology space. We've made 4 investments so far, and we'll continue to be active this year.
How many investments do you think you will make by the end of this year?
As many good companies as there are. If we find 15 good companies, we'll make 15 investments.
And how much does delivery rely on physical infrastructure?
Well, massively. Our infrastructure is core to us. Like I said, we have 800 distribution stations, 14 automated sortation stations, about 50 hubs across the country, 18 fulfillment centers, which are 1.1 million square feet of warehousing. So our physical infrastructure is obviously very, very crucial. We believe it's a running high quality infrastructure in India, I think it's interesting because I think e-commerce is creating the imperative for high quality infrastructure, which we invest in trucking, we invest in trucking hubs, so all of that, I think. And fortunately, we have great partners as well who work with us on this.
Can you tell us about your recent partnership with Zomato?
Sure. We are working with Zomato to drive their ordering business, where Zomato essentially will be the front end for generating the orders, and delivery will be one of their fulfillment partners. I think they're working with Pick and Go and with Grab along with us. So we're one of the partners that will work with them. This is part of our initiative on the local delivery piece. So Zomato is one of the partners that we work with. I think we'll continue to look for partnerships across the board, whether it is other on-demand delivery companies, whether it's other logistics companies. We're always willing to partner with new players. Whether e-commerce, obviously we partner with everybody completely. So one of our biggest partners in the recent past has been Grey Orange Robotics, where we work with them on our sortation systems, on all of the new age automation. So we've been fortunate to work with them for the last couple of years. The ambition of the company is to create a platform or an ecosystem which is truly a third-party ecosystem. Ideally, we would like every logistics company in India to partner with us. We would like every warehousing company in India to partner with us. We would like every technology company in India to partner with us. And we would love to create the base platform that sort of helps them all be a part of the space. So while today we have a tight network of maybe 15, 20 partners, we would like to create a much larger network by the end of this year, maybe hundreds of partners over the next year or so.
So what are the expansion plans?
So by the end of this year, we will definitely be able to deliver, let me break it up. If I structure it, we will be able to deliver a much larger variety of products. For instance, we will be able to deliver high value furniture, consumer durables, fragile items, all of which, dangerous goods, all of which are categories which have been underpenetrated so far. We will be able to deliver to more locations. So we obviously have full urban coverage. We are now moving into rural coverage as well. On top of which we will continue to expand. A strategic focus for us is expanding in the Northeast. So today we're present in Assam, we just opened up in Sikkim, and we obviously have larger parts of West Bengal, but the idea is to go further east. We will invest in building trucking infrastructure across the country. We will continue to expand our fulfillment centers. We have 18. We'll be in about 40 by the end of next year. And we look at it as sort of establishing ourselves as a credible cross-border partner as well, for Indian sellers who want to sell abroad and Indian consumers who want to buy from abroad. Outside of which there are a bunch of strategic initiatives which I really can't talk about at the moment.
So I read that Delhivery aims to be a data logistics company.
Yes.
With certain business in logistics.
Sure. I have to say that that's part of the plan. The question is how we use the data. We have a phenomenally large amount of data on, for instance, addresses in India. Today we're, I think, the only logistics company which doesn't use the PIN code as a basis for delivery. We actually resolve addresses into localities and sub-localities. It's taken us 4 years to really build the algos that allow us to do that. So that's one example of why data is core to us. Eventually our ambition, maybe we'll get there, is also to have our own map, which is sort of the back end for all logistics companies. But we will use data to understand vendors, we will use data to understand where inventory sits, we will use data to understand price, we will use data to understand who are good consumers. Anything that helps e-commerce companies, their sellers and their buyers sort of make better decisions is where we will use data, and that's the sort of data we have.
So what innovation are you bringing into the logistics?
Well, I just told you one. The biggest one is moving away from the PIN code. Indian companies have operated on the PIN code the Indian Post has operated on it for 100 years, right? Our competitors have been operating on this for 30 years. It's a very inefficient way of delivering. Today we are able to work off locality and sub-locality. That's been one big innovation. The other big one is in the operating model itself, the manner in which we've spread our stations. For instance, for most logistics companies, where we stand right now, the nearest logistics hub will probably be 10 kilometers from here. In our case, it's probably 1 kilometer from here. So the density of infrastructure that we've created has been something that hasn't been done in India. I think what we've seen is massive improvements in service levels, massive decrease in costs when you build that kind of a model. We've brought a massive amount of routing technology to this market. But there's so much more to be done, which so many interesting companies are doing. We'll look to partner with all of them.
How much time do you think the current funding will last?
Well, look, we don't burn much money, so the reality is we have enough money to go for another 5 years. So we can keep
So
going.
No new funds for next.
We may look at tactical fundraising if we have to further invest in new companies as they come up, new opportunities. But per se, for our core businesses, I think we're well funded.
And what do you have to say about your competitors? Like,
Well, I'm glad that they exist.
who is your biggest competitor in the market today?
I think in which part of our business is the right question. On the transportation side of the business, obviously there's Blue Dart. Obviously, eCart does a phenomenal job with Flipkart's own deliveries, as does ATS for Amazon, Ecom Express. So there are, I think, the four of us are the big players in this market. On the warehousing side, obviously, companies have to make the decision between doing it themselves and outsourcing to us. On the IT side, I don't know if we have a real competitor, to be honest. So we have a number of competitors. I'm glad that they exist because it proves that this space is interesting and viable. It wouldn't do for there to be only one player in this space. I think what I hope our competitors do along with us, obviously, is to build this together. I think there's no point at this stage of the market for us to focus on cutting each other's throats. More of our time should be spent on making sure we deliver reliably. So yeah, that's really my.
What are the plans for the overseas market?
Well, we will not build transportation businesses overseas. That is not part of our plan because transportation is deeply local. We will invest in some markets strategically. That will be because we want Indian sellers to be able to transact in those markets. For instance, the Middle East is an interesting market for us. If people want to buy from sellers who are in India, we have to have the ability to ship to them. Similarly, if an Indian consumer wants to buy something from a company abroad, we have to have the ability to deliver it in India. So that's going to be the extent of our investment. We will also lead with technology. We've had inquiries from people asking us if we can provide our backend, our routing services, our transport management system. We look at those opportunistically. Well, if you go to one overseas market, you'll already see us there when you land at the airport. So if you go to Dubai, you'll see us in Dubai already. You will also see us in another 4 markets over the next 6 months.
Which are those markets?
There will be Bangladesh, there will be Sri Lanka, there will be Dubai. We will likely have some presence in Western Europe. We're still deciding which 2 countries, but Western Europe.
So what advice do you have for the young entrepreneurs?
Wow. Look, this is my first company. I don't know if I have great advice for young entrepreneurs. I'm still learning this as we go along, as are all of us, all 5 of us, except maybe Kapil. He's run 2 startups before. I think the best advice is if you think you have a good idea, be patient, make sure it makes money, or at least that you can see that it makes money so that you're not dependent on somebody's capital. And when you raise capital, be patient with it and don't blow it all up. That's sort of my advice, really. I think too many people spend too long thinking of very far-fetched flaws in their ideas. If you have an idea and it broadly makes sense, the best thing to do is to have a minimum viable product and to launch and to let the market decide whether it's the right product or not. I think unfortunately the devil is in execution, not so much in the idea. People drop out for 2 reasons. One is they don't believe their idea can work. And that's because they spend too much time overthinking some of the smaller flaws, which they could have ironed out as they went along. And sometimes I think they're just too scared to start. They need a partner. So maybe the other big advice for people who start up, well, we started with 5 co-founders. Start with 2 of your friends. I don't think any of the 5 of us could have started alone. It was a perfect storm that the 5 of us got together. None of us could have done this alone. So it was lucky for us that we all got together.
Thanks for talking.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Cheers.
great time.